My doctors told my husband, 30M, and I, 31F, that our baby has many birth defects. I want to abort, he does not. This was a planned baby, and I'm absolutely devastated. Me and my husband met in college and have been married for 6 years now. We have one son who is now 4 years old. I know some people are going to wonder, but yes, we did discuss our moral/political views before even getting engaged, and we're both pro-choice. When we were 21 and 20, we made a stupid mistake that ended in a pregnancy. We were both flat broke and not at all ready for kids. I decided to terminate, and he fully agreed with and supported me. He loves our son so much, and he is an amazing father. He confided in me that he loved the idea of having a daughter as well. Luckily, we are now in a good financial place, so I agreed and we started trying for a second baby. We conceived fairly quickly and we were overjoyed. We also soon discovered that we're having a girl. My husband was so excited. As soon as he was told, he went all out and started to plan the nursery. He asked our son to help him pick which shade of pink he wanted, which crib to get, what the theme should be, etc. It was all so adorable. I don't want to reveal any personal medical history, so forgive me for being vague with the descriptions, but at our last doctor's visit a few days ago, we were given the news that our daughter has severe birth defects. They think she could possibly survive the birth, but any life that she gets to experience will be painful for her. There have been medical cases of babies with the same conditions to survive from early childhood to even the teenage years, but rarely so. These poor children suffer with so much pain and are uncomfortable their entire lives. They are also very low functioning and need around-the-clock care, as well as several uncomfortable surgeries to try and give them a better quality of life. We were both heartbroken and cried for hours together in the car. Then we drove home in silence. Neither of us said anything until my husband began to quietly mumble his thoughts. He was going on and on about how we needed to schedule another doctor's appointment so we know what medical equipment we'd need to buy for her, and we should renovate the nursery again so we could care for her more easily. He said that he'd definitely have to talk to his boss so he can take a longer paternal leave. He wants to be by her side in the NICU until we can take her home. He talked about how we'd have to ask his mom to babysit our son more often while she's a newborn. He even said that maybe we could sell one of our cars, move to a smaller house, and take our son out of private school so we'd have more money to pay for our daughter's care. I was silent until he asked me what I thought. I was blunt and said that I think we should terminate the pregnancy. Now I feel bad for saying it that way, but I was still frazzled from the news. This made him very upset. He began to cry and ask why I don't want our daughter. Even with disabilities? I mentioned our previous abortion. He said it was different because it was unplanned and we had no way to take care of the child. Now we're in a pretty good place financially, so theoretically, we could shoulder the cost of our daughter. I have a bit of personal history with this type of situation. My best friend in high school was at my house all the time because her parents were way too busy with her severely autistic older brother. They did love her, but she was pushed to the side her entire childhood. I told him the story. He said that we'd do better by our son and daughter. My best friend's parents were stupid for having a second kid after they'd already had a disabled one. He then seemed hopeful for a minute and asked if I was just afraid. He promised that he'd be by my side the whole time and we could do this together. I told him it's not about fear. Our daughter will be in pain constantly if she was born alive. It would be a short and painful life for her. I love this baby so much already, I don't want her to suffer like that. He then began to yell that even if she doesn't live long, we could still pour our hearts and souls into making her life as fulfilling as possible. I didn't respond, and he stormed inside. It's been a couple days now, and he won't even look me in the eyes. He sits in the new nursery for hours. Our son is very confused. I know he's grieving, but I really don't want to go further with this pregnancy. I love him so much, and I have no idea what to do now. Yikes, yeesh, oh my god, wow. I'm gonna just say right now, I side with the mother, right? I feel like the father may have something that he's not revealing. He wants a daughter, and he has one, and he's willing to do anything to have that daughter, but anything requires taking your son out of school, selling the house, selling a car, like really? And that baby's not gonna live long, and that baby's gonna live a horrible, painful life and might not even make it to 16, right? So I would try again, but also I would talk to the husband and be like, yo, she gonna suffer. Like, she gonna be in pain the whole time. But anyway, next story. Story number 2. My ex-wife's affair partner she ended our marriage for 15 years ago died suddenly this morning. For what it's worth, as we co-parent a daughter, we had mostly repaired our relationship insofar as getting along fine and working together. I had left the past in the past and have treated her with nothing but respect to her face and in front of our daughter. But during that 15-year span, I had spoken maybe 2 sentences to the guy and had just 1 in-person interaction with him because I despised him due to past events. I had fantasized in the past about beating the ever-living hell out of him in the event we were actually in close proximity, at least for the first few years. But generally, I didn't pay attention to anything they had going on. I was content to live and let live. He had a daughter with my ex-wife, my daughter's half-sister, and I've tried to be friendly toward her and treat her with kindness despite the situation that led to her existence. If you had told me that this is where the story ended 15 years ago, I may have viewed it as karmic justice. After getting the news today, though, I realized I just felt horrible for my ex-wife and for his daughter who now has to grow up without a father. Despite my feelings, I would never have wished this on him, nor the fallout that is now going to be experienced by my ex-wife. I told her that if she needed my help with anything to let me know. I told my daughter to give her mom a hug and her sister a hug if they needed one. Feelings are complicated and not altogether as black and white as you may imagine. They will be given such a raw situation. My life was turned upside down 15 years ago due to the actions of this man and my ex-wife. Now 15 years later, he is dead and my ex-wife's life is turning upside down. And I feel sad for her and for her other daughter. It is a surreal feeling to be in a position where you feel the need to comfort the person who cheated on you because the person they cheated on you with has died. I don't know what I need posting here, but I surprised myself today by my own feelings and reaction towards the situation. Edit. I went to sleep after posting this. Thank you all for the kind and unkind comments. I will take this time to respond where I can, but as there are so many comments, I want to address a couple of things. There is no chance I will be rebounding with my ex. I have a partner/relationship of my own. I spoke to my partner about these feelings as well, and she feels sorry for the same reasons, but she has more anger toward my ex than I do. I don't have any romantic feelings towards my ex at all, so my feelings for her aren't based on that, but just on sharing a daughter. I still do maintain a friendly relationship with my ex-mother-in-law because I'm often picking my daughter up for karate classes, and it is the mother-in-law who reached out to me about the situation. I have dinner with them sometimes, and for the sake of my daughter, I've done my best to keep a nice/cordial relationship with my ex. But there has been a line, and I'm not flirty or anything else with my ex. As for why I should hold the affair partner more at fault than my ex-wife, he took advantage of her a couple of months after my father-in-law had passed away of her being upset. I was taking night classes at the time, so while I was at school, he was coming over to my house and made a move. I gave her a little bit of understanding because she was dealing with a lot of grief at the time. So whether I'm right or wrong about that, and it isn't an excuse, I do understand if the reason she cheated was because of what else was going on in her life. Thank you all again for the thoughts. I will respond more later today once I'm done at work. Oh man, that's a tough situation. You're like, revenge and karma has finally set in, and then you get it and you're like, oh, this feels gross and I feel sad and terrible and oh, everything's ruined. Sometimes getting what you want isn't what you want. Hopefully the ex-wife can get along. She's got 2 daughters now, so hopefully everything works out for her. Story number 3. My best friend is getting married today, and I truly think they are making a mistake. Just as the title says, my best friend is getting married today. I've tried my best to be supportive and gentle in my language, if I must be honest, but I'm bursting with frustration. I know this is going to sound petty, and honestly, I'm likely a bad friend for judging, but please hear me out. My friend is 23, marrying a man of the same age that they have been dating for about 8 months. At 5 months, they told me they were engaged and that they were going to the courthouse on Halloween to get married. The only people invited were both of their mothers. A proper wedding ceremony will be held in the spring where everyone will be invited. I've already been told I'm one of the groomsmen/maids of honor. I'm the best of man of the bride, if there's a better name for that. So why do I have a problem with this? Besides the very short time they've been dating, my best friend is very quick to fall in love and very quick to fall hard. Every person they have dated in the past 5 years has had the same thing said about them. The best person they've ever dated, and I've never loved someone so much. I genuinely don't mind it normally as they have lots of love to give and how much they see love is one of their charms, but it has led to them getting hurt very often, especially by terrible men who takes advantage of their feelings, usually financially. I'm worried that they are jumping into this relationship too fast. I've met the fiance/husband, and I don't hate the guy. He's okay and hasn't shown too many red flags. He even makes my friend happy, so I should be happy. The only big red flag is his inability to hold a job, quitting or getting fired frequently, especially quitting without telling my friend. I've talked about my concerns about them rushing into this, but they brushed them off and gave me the same "I've never loved anyone like this before." So I've bit my tongue since and tried to support them. I even went wedding shopping with them to pick out the wedding outfit like a best friend should. I know I sound like a bad friend, and I genuinely feel bad for being so apprehensive. I do also want to get ahead of any jealousy claims, since I'm a man and they are a woman and this is the internet. I am gay. I have no interest in women. I love my best friend as family, not in any way romantically. Yikes. I've met people like this before. Meet a person, hey, we're in love. And I'm like, hey, hasn't it been a month and a half? Then they break up, and then they fall, and then they cry, and then they meet someone else. And they're like, hey, I'm in love again. I'm like, okay, what you gotta do is send them to therapy. I'm sorry, right? Unless you can just, or keep a journal. I don't know. Anyway, next story. Story number 4. My son stood up his mom like she did years ago. I had my son with my then girlfriend just after high school. We got married at just 18/20, Christian parents. From the moment he was born, I loved him. My ex thought otherwise. She'd blame him for ruining her life, leading to her mentally and verbally abusing my boy up until we divorced. It was a clean break as she left with her new rich boyfriend, saying if her future was ruined, her new rich BF can help her live the life she always wanted. My son is such an angel. He always thought it was his fault and tried to do his best to be the best son for me, leading him to be very easily influenced by others' criticism and stuff like that. Since his classmates' moms treat their kids right, everyone's hero is their mother. Even after all the abuse she put him through, he still wanted to visit her. It's normal bad parenting, making plans she couldn't attend to. I'd understand if it's once or twice, but all the times? Not even once? Not even a freaking weekend or a few hours? He basically had no maternal figure in his life. This made him have trust issues, and he became really quiet. But thank goodness for therapy, he's gotten much better. And the gym is become his stress reliever. Now he's a strong, intelligent senior in high school. He's the perfect child. It's only about 6 months ago that he got text from his mother asking to meet him. For a week straight, he was so happy, unreasonably happy to meet someone who had hurt him so bad and at such a young age. But it was not my place to tell him who he should meet. The day of, he was supposed to meet her at a coffee shop to catch up. My son got the call from his mom asking where he is. He said, sorry, something came up at work, can't meet today, before hanging up. For 6 months, whenever they made plans, he was a no-show. I wasn't aware of any of this. So when my ex called to tell me about my son's behavior, saying he's acting out of line and should be disciplined, I'm sorry, but when she was explaining, I just straight up started cracking up. I told her that he is doing what she did to him years ago, and I will not be disciplining him for something she indirectly taught him. I feel bad for her, but is my son really that wrong to no-show to his mom? Edit. I see the same exact question asked again and again, so I'd like to clear things up. My son did want a relationship, but decided against when she accidentally let it slip that she wanted money. It was over a phone call, so I have no evidence that that's what she wanted, but knowing her, it sounds exactly like what she would do. I believe she married me not only because of her parents, but also the fact that my parents did own quite a big business in my home country that made them somewhat wealthy. She started getting quite irritable when I wanted to not take over the business. Their business is buying and selling stocks or whatever. My current career is as a chemist. Another thing I saw was that my son was quite petty in his revenge. Of course, there is a lot of hatred and resentment to his mom, not for her abuse, but the fact that she contacted him for money. My son works as a freelancer in my parents' business, just some admin work. She knows that if she called me, I would have straight up said no. Hope that cleared some things up. What do we say here? That the mom is an excellent mother and a great person and she totally changed her ways and she should totally deserve to talk to her son? No. Screw her. She sucks. I hate her. I don't even know her name. Screw you, Deborah. Story number 5. My boyfriend may have cheated on me while I was in the hospital. I, 26F, have a genetic disease that makes me predisposed to pancreatitis. So, I'm in the hospital on a fairly consistent basis. I have a virtual job, so I do work from the hospital. I live in Canada, so no medical bills for my treatment. My boyfriend, 30M, I'll call him Blake, visited me often on my last stint, which was 30 days of agony. I got secondary pneumonia and had heart problems in addition to the pain. He sat with me and joked with me when I was awake. He was always so sweet. I'm back in the hospital again with my pancreas trying to kill me. I've been here for 3 days and I'm on some pretty heavy-duty painkillers. No dependence or addiction, as I've been on a cycle of 4 different medications and my hospital is careful. I also have major addiction in my family and I don't want to fall down that path. Because I'm a frequent flyer, I know all of my nurses and nursing students except one. She's relatively new. I'll call her Taylor, late 20s, F. Taylor started working at my hospital when I was in the hospital last time. I had been about an hour off my meds, which is the usual turnaround cycle so I can have antibiotics. My IV machine went off and I had called a nurse in to change it out. Taylor came in to change my meds, and as she did so, called me a druggie and said no wonder he's with her instead of me. I suppose believing I was still on my meds, which can make you loopy and incoherent. I asked her to explain, and long story short, Blake and Taylor are sleeping together behind my back since halfway through my last stay because Blake has told her I'm a drug addict, and everybody at the hospital has fallen for it. I feel so hurt because just before visiting hours were up tonight, he gave me a forehead kiss and told me he loved me. Do I believe her? I have no proof but her word. I'm scared to lose Blake as I think he's an awesome guy. I don't know what to do. Help, please? Well, that's a tough one because, she may believe what she said and she was just wearing off her meds, so maybe that was her insecurities and the medication speaking, but also she was just coming off, so maybe Taylor's actually evil? I don't know. This is one of the ones that you need a little bit more information, so I hope that there's an update to this particular story. Story number 6. My husband advised his friend to hit his wife. A couple of nights ago, my husband was on the phone with his friend. I don't know any details, but his friend is going through some things with his wife. We were laying in bed with our son when his friend called. He was listening for a bit and then he said, "If she keeps that up, you know what to do. You have to talk to some women with your fist." I was surprised to hear that and I looked over at him. He told his friend to give him a minute because I was in the room. He gave me a kiss and told our son he'd be back and left the room to finish the conversation. I don't want to stress over it or cause issues, but it gave me a bad feeling. I don't understand encouraging violence. And my son didn't need to hear that. When he came back, I started to ask about it, but he shushed me and told me it has nothing to do with me. He told me not to worry about other people. I didn't press and I let it go. He doesn't hit me. He's a great husband to me and I love him. Sometimes he raises his voice, but nobody is perfect and we have a happy family. So I just don't understand it. Story number 7. My wife got blacked out drunk and had sex with someone else. My wife, 24 years old, and myself, 26 years old, had a miscarriage in October, and also in January. She's been depressed since the first one and found out she had an autoimmune disease that might be causing it as well. We were fighting quite a bit last week and I had the bright idea that she should visit her hometown and have a little vacation from each other. The second night she was away, Saturday night, she got blacked out drunk and had sex in someone's car. She claimed she has basically zero recollection of what happened and had bruises. She says she couldn't even be able to identify the person and barely knows what happened. I don't believe her. Her friend was nowhere around, so she can't answer my questions. She didn't tell me till Tuesday, and she is staying at a friend's house now. And back in 2017, she cheated on me before we were in college, and it's giving me some PTSD of that. I'm having a hard time believing that she had no clue what was going on. I told her if she was sexually assaulted to track down the person and cameras of the night, but she just doesn't want to do that. So I am divorcing her. I guess the question is, what do I do from here? I am 74% sure that she is lying. Little suspicious, don't remember anything. Yes, she is grieving. Yes, it's very likely that she got blackout drunk, but she cheated before, right? That actually, you know what? Since she cheated before, I am now 87% sure. She did it. She's guilty. Slam the judge's gavel. Anyway, I hope everything works out for the guy, though. Okay, I'm done. Bye.